Morning, y'all. Hey, Melissa. Hey, it's December 30th, 2024. So right at the end of the year, do these videos occasionally where you're kind of in the passenger seat with me. You're not in the passenger seat, but you're in the cup holder here on the video with me. So I call them talkies because really I'm just talking. But, kind of giving you that other side of our small farm life. There's a lot of things away from the farm that you have to do. So this morning, going about an hour away from the house to kind of a banking institution, not really a credit union, not really a co-op, but it's for rural families, for farms. So going over there, we actually really highly recommend and believe in not using debt as leverage for improvement. But we knew in this 24 calendar year that at the end of the year, or late year, we had, quarter three, we had big flocks, and we had 3 big flocks of chickens back to back. So we knew the numbers on that going into that. And the thing with our operation with the poultry, probably the thing with most farm operations, I would imagine, whether it's crops or livestock, the farmer is fronting a whole lot of production overhead on the front end going into it. We got to pay for everything up front. Pretty much. You got to pay for everything up front. But you're not getting return until you make a product, and that's on the back end, right? So we had flocks through quarter one and quarter two, and we had turnaround on those flocks. We had money on those flocks coming in, but we also knew that running basically in quarter two and quarter three, the 3 big flocks for us back to back was gonna tighten things up quite a bit, and we wanted to make sure the money was liquid to pay the bills up front. And then as you go through the process of sales, you get your return, and then there you are. You can pay your debt back in, and after that, you're making some money, right? So anyway, so that's what I'm doing today. I want to close up quarter 4, 2024, and get the debt to 0. So we've got that accomplished. So looking forward to going over in person to see our bankers over here. Usually, we deal with them through the telephone or the email or even through the mail with the statements and the invoices, but it's nice to go see them. It's nice to thank them in person for their role in our operation, and they always are equally grateful and professional working with us, whether it is email, phone, or in person. So it's just nice to make those person-to-person connections where, again, even this side of our operation, which is a business, is very much like the customer side of your business, where that person-to-person connection, it matters. It makes a difference. So it is about an hour over here to drive it. We could have mailed this, we could have done this over the phone, but I'm taking it in person and get to talk to some of the people that help manage the account for us. So anyway, so really we want to get that, we want that on 0. We want that sitting on 0. And then, we can go into 2025 and continue working with them if we want to be able to leverage some upfront cash flow that's more liquid while we're waiting on return on investment to actually sell product and see the money come back. So there there's a whole lot to, it's just a farm, it's just farming. Well, there's a whole lot to it. I mean, it's still, I guess you can take it to the extent you want to take it, and you can make it what you want to make of it, but yeah, it's just farming. But it's still business, it's still brand, it's still money, it's still product, it's still customer relations, it's still promotion. So you're still doing all these things that it takes to manage finances and to manage trying to get a return on investment. So it, it can, that part can be stressful, because when you look ahead, I need to sit down with the pen and paper and the figures for 25, but I know a year ago when we were looking ahead to 2024, we were talking 30,000 plus overhead production, and it kind of hits home then. I know even with our young adult sons, when more and more with them, we can talk about numbers. I mean, you can talk about numbers with your kids anytime, and you should talk about numbers. You should talk about finances on the level they can grasp all through coming up when they're little kids getting bigger, and as they develop bodily, physical maturity, and as they develop mindset maturity, as they're able to work and they're able to realize, bring to fruition, earning some income and having to plan with that income, we believe that needs to be a part of their lives. We believe that it doesn't do them favors for mom, dad, legal guardian, whoever, to buy them everything they want. And they even reach a point, we feel like, even still living with us, there's things that they need, in the sense of not necessarily need to stay alive, but need in the sense of, in terms of to function in society and in their roles that they've taken on. They benefit from being responsible for the financial means to take care of that too. Examples of that is, things like vehicle insurance, cell phone. I know with our kids, that's case in point. One thing that we never paid for a cell phone for them, ever. Even when they were younger, I think the point at which we said, okay, we're okay with you having a cell phone and carrying a cell phone through the day. That point in life, I think, was probably, they were probably going into high school age before we said, okay, you can have a phone. And honestly, if we could take it out of their lives, if we could take it out of our lives altogether and still function in the society the way it is, I would prefer that. Phones that's a whole nother talky video, isn't it? That's a whole nother thing. It's a big topic, but you've got to run the phone, because the phone will run your life. You get addicted to it if you're not super vigilant about trying to build discipline into your life. So like I said, whole nother thing, right? But on the money part, like, for them to have jobs, for them to be on sports teams, for them to interact in this American society, a phone is somewhat a necessity. So we said to them, hey, still though, we come from the era where we grew up with the phone attached to the wall and a landline cord running out the house to a wire that was running through, in our case, at our home, running through the ground. So we have that point of reference, and we said, hey, we have this landline, so you have phone access that we're providing. You may have to come back home to use it, or you may have to ask to use the phone in the office, wherever you are, like at the school, or at work, at your job. But if you want to carry your own phone, you're going to have to pay for that. So they've had some kind of work ever since that age, ever since junior high age, where they were making some income and they could pay for that phone. And they worked their way up. At first it was like the entry level phone, and you buy the minutes on the card and you load them on the phone, and when they run out, you're just out till you buy more minutes and load them on the phone off of the phone card. And they've worked their way up to having an actual phone, in service, and a month-to-month plan, and we bundle it all on a household. But anyway, I know you're like, how did we go from where we started to this? But the point is just, as our sons are getting older, and we say more about the farm, and we talk to them more about the operation. Here, not too long ago, I threw out a number of, because we were talking about this. I was talking, I'm going to, rather than mail the thing over to the banker, I'm just going to make the trip, an hour there, an hour home, maybe 20, 30 minutes at the bank. So I'm just going to make the trip over, pay it, talk to them, make sure where we all stand going into 2025 on being able to work together. And we were throwing out some numbers, and our youngest son, I kind of saw that, you see the look on somebody's face when they get something, when it registers, like we threw out that number of what we were paying off, and I was like, and everything after that is money we're making, and he, like, you saw the register on his face about what the operation cost, because he was like, oh, so we were making money, like, back when we did this and this, and we were like, yeah, we were making money, but we didn't pocket that money. We put it back into the operation. So if we hadn't been investing in the infrastructure of the operation and we'd have pocketed that money, it'd have felt like income to them. It'd have felt like profit to them. But because we didn't go do something fun with it and we put it back into the operation, it didn't feel like profit. And so that's kind of what we were discussing, is how they were saying, why do we do this? There's not profit. We were like, yeah, there is profit. You aren't seeing it because, we're investing back in. And the family was even leaning to, like, why do we even want to do this in this next year? And we were saying to them, we've built this up. Like, we're like 4 or 5 years into this. We've built up a customer base. We've built up infrastructure that supports the production system we want to use. This isn't when we quit. And then we started throwing those numbers out. And so when we threw out, well, we're going to go to the bank, want to pay this down. After that, that's profit money. And we might pocket it, but we might set it aside, and it's there to front flock 1 of 2025 instead of us having to pull that out of pocket or leverage some debt somewhere or something. So, then the wheels are turning. Then you see the wheels turning. And then he asked the question, well, what did it cost to raise all the chickens for this year? And he was putting numbers together, and he was throwing numbers out there. And we were like, well, everything, January 1 to December 31, we were looking at like a $30,000 approximate plus production cost. That was the farm overhead. So, you got to, in essence, to profit, you got to turn over that money and a little more, right? So then he was like, okay, so you saw the wheels turning. So, and I'm cool with our family of 5. Right now, our farm operation is meat chickens and egg chickens. And the egg chickens is at the scale of, like, currently it's at the scale of about 60 egg layers, 50 to 60 egg layers. And so, maybe 4, probably average throughout the year, 4 dozen a day eggs, okay? That's the scope of the egg production. The scope of the meat production is we did 1,650 corner-shark cross meat chickens in 2024, split into 6 flocks. So going into 25, we're going to actually scale. Probably we're going to actually scale the egg chickens up a little bit, like increase to maybe 100 layers, and we're probably going to scale the meat chickens back by maybe a couple of 100 birds. So that's what we're looking at. And so what my train of thought was going to was, amongst the 5 of us in the household, if they come up with some other idea that we can diversify the farm into and make it work and find another income stream, I'm open to that. Totally open to that. So we'll see. And we have some other ideas. Bubbling under the surface. So we'll explore those as a household. But the first thing we got to do is make sure the meat bird thing is set up for 2025. So we have we've already set our processing dates for 2025. They're set. So that ended up happening, being confirmed, like right at Christmas. I think on the 24th, I had the last correspondence with the processing house about what dates do we want, and by the 26th, they said, here's the dates we've got. Tell us if you want them. It lined up pretty good. Everything lined up pretty well with what we requested. Really well, actually. So we were able to go with it. So that's all done. Processing dates for meat birds for 2025 is set. So I think we went right at 1,400 birds in 5 flocks. 1 flock is really small. So basically in 4 significant flocks. And then the egg bird, back on the meat birds. So we got to get that all set up. Processing set. So now another thing on today's agenda when I get back home is to sit back down with those processing dates. And I've already plotted them on a calendar. Take each processing date, count back 6 weeks, because 6 weeks is what we want to raise our meat birds. So when you do that, from the processing date back 6 weeks, you get the hatch date. That's the hatch date we want. So what I'll do now is I network with somebody that is sort of middle person between me and the hatchery. So I'll talk to my person, talk to my people, and they're going to talk to their people, see what I'm saying? But I'm going to talk to my people about what hatch dates we want and give them time to talk to the hatchery people, and then they'll get back to me. And so we kind of go into that knowing, well, there's basically 1 day of the week year round that the hatchery hatches chicks, so we can kind of plan around that. And then the busy times, they hatch 2 days a week. So that's where, we need to just submit our dates. We need to let our person talk to the hatchery. They'll work out what the calendar looks like at the hatchery end. My person will get back to me and we'll set it up. So it's not going to take very long, but we might need to give it a week or 2 for them to get hatch schedule set. So we'll have hatch schedule set, I'd say probably going into the first week of January. So once that's set, the meat birds are set up, and we know what calendar we're dealing with for 2025. So then we can concentrate on, what are the other things that we want to look at. So anyway, so that's kind of what's going on the farm right now, December 30th, 2024. We are fixing to wrap up the year, and we actually did get to do a family retreat. We went on a short trip to Lexington, Kentucky, and let me tell you, it's beautiful there. Lexington, Kentucky, USA, and world-class tourist attractions. If you're there, Keeneland, the racetrack, Kentucky Horse Park, and there's a lot of historic sites, a lot of historic homes, but I'm going to tell you, the one I'm going to say you got to go see it if you're in Lexington, Kentucky, USA, is the Henry Clay Estate. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. The estate itself, they call it Ashland. It's the Henry Clay Estate. But on Keeneland, I'm going to tell you 3 things on Keeneland. If you get to go to Keeneland, the racing track in Lexington, Kentucky, USA, eat at the track kitchen. It's way in the back. I don't even know if you stumble across it, if someone didn't recommend it to you. Go eat at the track kitchen. It's the best. Track kitchen. Oh, try to get, if you can get it scheduled, try to get a guided tour of the grounds, okay? A guided tour of the grounds is phenomenal. You get some history, you get some background on what they do, what goes on there. And of course, if you're there and there's any horses, even if it's not a race day, sometimes if you can see horses working out. So be there. So this is the thing. Be there before 10 o'clock in the morning, because the horses can work on the track from it may be 7 to 10 or 6 to 10 in the morning. Horses, when it's not racing time and it's just the rest of the year, horses can exercise on the track between those hours. So you might get to see some horses breezing on the track. So definitely track kitchen, guided tour if it's available, and be there before 10. Go watch some ponies run. And so they told us that race times at Keeneland is April and October. So if you want to actually see racing, that's when you go to Lexington, Kentucky, if you want to see racing at Keeneland. So you can look them up online, but we did a review on our experience at Keeneland. We had an awesome tour guide. Her name was Shannon. Man, she was phenomenal tour guide, taught us so much, shared her enthusiasm and passion for Keeneland itself and for the racing industry. And when we did this review, how was your experience at Keeneland? And I did 5 stars, and one of the questions on there is, how likely are you to tell other people about horse racing? Man, I'm telling you right now, anybody who's watching our channel and who stuck with me in this video, I'm telling you right now, Keeneland is an awesome place to see. And one of the times we were watching the horses run, and I love horses. I come from a riding, training, horse show judging background, so horses is right up my alley. So we watched some breeze on the track, and one of the passes that the horses made, I just stopped and I closed my eyes and I listened to those hoof beats. Oh, nothing better. Just magnificent. There was always, over at the Kentucky Horse Park, and I didn't see it this time, I don't know if it's still there, but going into one of the buildings, there was a quote I always liked, and it went, "Thou shalt fly without wings, just like the horse. Thou shalt fly without wings, just like the horse." I don't know where that's credited to, source from. I always saw it at the Kentucky Horse Park when I was a kid, over a doorway walking into one of the museums. Thou shalt fly without wings, just like the horse. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. As you look into 2025, we don't know what's going to happen. We make our plans. God probably laughs, but we don't know what's going to happen. And we don't need to assume that it's going to be worse than we anticipate. It could be better. And I'm going into 2025 with that on my mind. And I'm going to remind myself of that quote every day. Thou shalt fly without wings, just like the horse. Hey, y'all, God bless you. God bless you. So thanks for watching. We appreciate you. We're going to keep trying to make content. We're between, as far as raising chickens, we're between things right now on the meat birds. So, we're going to have to try to do other things and probably going to do some talking and just telling you about the operation. But, farmers, think of farmer, and at least connect when you're seeing food, connect the idea of what are you actually looking at and where did it come from. And if you can kind of turn a corner and source your food, I know this depends on where you're at and who you're around and what you can access, but we're always promoting local agriculture wherever local is for you. And if you can source some or a lot of your food right from the farmer, rancher, or producer who makes it and as close to your area as possible, do so. Connect the dots of what we're eating and where it comes from and the people that help produce it. So God bless y'all. Thanks so much for supporting the channel.